everybody, welcome again to another podcast. So I was like preparing because I prepare my podcast based on research, assessment, careful assessment of the topic, what is needed. And in preparing I realized that there have been something that is in the background regarding fish keeping Jamaica, an adventure, and his style, his presentation, his information. Because I was about to, mention about three very large YouTube channels, the presenters regarding, misinformation and all that. But before I actually go to that, I'll just clear the air on several front regarding my channel, my philosophy, my my approach, and my content, right? Okay, so my name is Raleigh, Raliegh, right? I live in Jamaica, right? Jamaica is found in the Caribbean. Experience what you refer to as a wet and dry season, right? The wet season starts in June and ends in November, and the dry season afterwards, which ends at the end of May, right, guys? All right, so I keep my fish stock outdoors, and in keeping my fish stock outdoors, I keep them in different spaces. And the reason why I keep them in different species only, that is, it's primarily because I practice breeding them, selling them to the pet shop, or selling, trading them retail price to individuals who wishes to get them, right? So whenever you see me have, let's say, an aquarium or a space where which you have different type of fish together, something like a community tank, one out of two things, I'm actually trying to do a little experiment, research. My field is sociology, social sciences, and I love research. I love to find out the know. I love to get facts based on experience, and I love to document and share. So that's my pet peeve, right? I also visit, service, and share aquariums that have been up and running in different spaces, clients, so to speak. And these clients may have aquariums that is stocked very funny, and persons out there might say that the aquarium is stocked improper. Now, I realize that spaces like Reddit and Ben from Benno Cichlids have been sharing over a while now. I'm not entirely sure as to when all of these gabble have actually been shared, suggesting that persons like myself, how I keep fish is practically not the orthodox way, not the principal way, not the way in which the fish should be kept. In other words, serving as a fish police and a sergeant, so to speak. Okay, I'm going to be talking along that line today, and I am not really into the tit for tat, but I'm just trying to ensure that my viewers, especially the new viewers to my channel, know that I am an individual who loves to state the facts, right? Now, Beno Cichlid suggested that that's Fish Keeping Jamaica, Raliegh from Fish Keeping Jamaica, in a couple live streams that practically I am in layman's term doing BS as far as low-tech, low-maintenance philosophies, popularizing the theme of low-tech, low-maintenance philosophy, and warns of shortcut in keeping fish, the way in which I keep fish. Okay, all right, Mr. Ben. Let me share with you some information about where I'm at and what I do. Okay, number one, I keep ornamental fish and food fish, and I use the space in which I have, which is really extensive for those persons who have been viewing my channel, to showcase the fish. And I actually use it as a passive income, trading the fish to pet shops and elsewhere to persons who need them. So I keep a wide variety of fish outdoors in containers. I do not have a fish room. And not having a fish room is a choice because I do have the space in which I can create a fish room. The reason why I don't have a fish room, Sir Ben, is because, one, I think having a fish room is practically BS. No, as far as I'm concerned, the fish keeping hobby, ornamental side, is actually decreasing as far as, having substantial individuals within it, in comparative to 5-10 years ago. One of the reasons why that is so, Sir Ben, is because the high-tech, high maintenance of ornamental fish keeping have become so extreme that many persons have opted to, just leave the hobby. If you should look, my dear friend Ben, and persons on Reddit, at several different YouTube channels that you started out with, or you came in and you saw, you'll realize that these YouTube channels are no longer in existence. One of the primary factors which influences this is because, just like a motor car, the hobby, as it is being showcased on YouTube, requires constant upgrade. It is expensive, right? And having low cost technology, know-how, and props to have your fish stock grow is not considered a crime. It is based, your thought on fish keeping is based on methodologically science, right? Science, right? And you are accompanied by persons within the scientific community. Now, various small aquarium channel, like myself, do follow, large channels such as Father Fish and Joey from DIY and Aquarium Co-op. I will talk about them in my next podcast, right? And to a great extent, the main thematic approach in getting persons to actually watch or to look at is including both high-end and low-end technology within the aquarium setup, so as to like advertise into individuals that they can keep, that they can actually become a part of the hobby. As far as my fish keeping is concerned, Sir Ben, I call you Sir Ben because it seems as if you are so, you have placed yourself at such high standards that looking at an individual's low tech, low maintenance, probably not so beautiful setup is regarded as like, beneath you. Well, my YouTube channel is not merely just to showcase fish and to tell you the different aspect of keeping fish and all of that. My YouTube channel is a business. So after I've actually shared with you, after I've actually shared with my channel members or persons watching that I have probably some yellow labs and they are breeding, or identify the male and the female, or I talk about angelfish or Oscars or goldfish. After all of that and the camera stop roll, my next task, sir, is to get a customer to purchase all that fish. So therefore, I collect income from the fish. My main thrust is to create a space that is suitable for the fish to survive and to trade the fish. So my fish stock is never normally with me for a very long time. In Jamaica, we experience a hot climate and a wet climate. Our buildings are made from concrete, blocks, cinder blocks and cement and steel. And the house stock also concrete. And so in the evenings, when there are no one home, we go to work. The house is completely closed and there are no AC running throughout the day or throughout the night. So inside of the house is rather hot. Should in case you have a fish stock inside the house, in a fish room in the house, the fish will actually experience increase in temperature and they will die. As a result of that, being it that I'm from the tropics and the fish that I keep are mostly tropical fish, either from Africa, South America, right? A few goldfish, but they are okay, right? Their survival rate outside is excellent, right? Alright, so the whole idea of keeping fish using expensive tools and equipment is not within my what I call it now, not within my headspace. Now, while your thinking is really about science, suggesting about the nitrates and nitrates level, the ppm for large cichlids, regarding water quality and stabilization and all that, right? And salt as a panacea. The dynamics as to how things are where you are at is totally different from where I'm at. You see, I don't have to include extensive amount of salt within my aquariums, or should I say, my ponds. I keep cichlids, and most of my ponds do have soil or what you refer to as rocks. Okay, so let's do a little geography here. So 70% of Jamaica is made up of limestone, and the soil and the rocks are normally sedimentary in construct, having some trace to limestone. Now, limestone in itself, salt constitute a great portion of it. So having the soil in the pond and having the rock in the pond, it gradually releases salt within the water that is caught in my yard. And so what happened, my dear friend, is that the ability of the soil and the rock to release salt in the water help to protect my fish, and my fish is healthy. I've shared I've shared with my audience in the past 3-4 years, in which my several clients in which I have built their aquarium, I have designed the outlay of their scape, and I have stocked their aquarium. Up to today, their fish are really healthy and strong and reproducing and doing really well, right? There are several things that could be done to make the aquarium a little bit more aesthetically appealing, as far as my own space and my yard. But why fix up something wherein which I am going to have to root up very often so as to get it sold? So it's just a holding space, and I have shared with you over and over and over again on my channel that that's what I do. I am a teacher by profession. I have a 9-to-5 work wherein it I teach during the days, record during the weekends, and during the weeks also I trade fish with different clients throughout the entire island. So my life is really busy. Now, overstocking for aggression is suggested as a practical advice, right, by you, including heavy overstocking to diffuse cichlid aggression, while scientifically this releases bioload and stresses the hormone. It's considered a successful management tool for keeping unkeepable species together, as suggested by you. And also you suggest that deep cleaning sponge in tap water, while the science warns that you're actually killing your bacteria due to chlorine, right? I listened to your argument, which suggests that colonies are resilient enough to survive, and a quick rinse will, not really mess up nothing much, right? Prioritizing mechanical flow over perfect biological preservation. So here you criticize my style of keeping fish, but on the same hand, your theoretical onset as to filtration cleaning is somewhere out of whack. The principal approach that you suggest is considered by the book scientifically correct, and it does not have anything to do with any anecdotal reference, right? However, your anecdotal preference in filter cleaning, based on what? I guess the fact that you're well known, so the acceptance of how you clean your aquarium filter should supersede the regular thought, scientifically proven, and anecdotally, what you call it now, approved by many, but at the same time, you disapprove of how I keep fish. But I can consider one of the reasons why fish keeping Jamaica is so easy to call is because it seems as if I'm going nowhere, right? But the thing about it, people, is that I'm not in any rush. I'm the turtle that is on the way to Damascus. And I will eventually get where I'm going. Because whatever I do it based on principle, anecdotals, and test and tried, experience not only of myself but of others. Now, although science in itself is not a bad thing when comparative to the standards of which persons operate as far as fish keeping. There's what you refer to as gold standard, silver standard, bronze standard, and the very low standard. You focus on logistical reality of maintaining of dozens of high energy aggressive tanks efficiently. Now this is where the difference between myself and you lies, because I do not have dozens of high energy aggressive tanks, right? So I don't need to be efficient in anything. I have 35 ponds, and I practice stocking my fish by species only, and my fish are reproducing, and I'm actually gaining some amount of monies, and I'm good. Now, there is a gap between scientific theory and practical fish room reality in which you do show, right? And this resembles some amount of hypocrisy as far as your stance in keeping fish, as if individuals should accept your position, right? Whilst you criticize and put down others based on the standard that you set regarding the standard being referred to as unrealistic or dangerous or stressing for your fish. Now, whilst you see overstocking of your fish tank with a lot of aggressive fish minimizes referred to as aggression within your aquarium, whilst it may minimize the physical aggression, but you have what you refer to as the mental, psychological pullback of that decision. Because what happened is that fish become more skittish, fearful of each other, although they're swimming past each other. Because at any time, one of those aggressive fish can become super aggressive and issue do arrive. But I leave that for another day. Now, the nitrate myth. Now, you have argued that while science suggests keeping nitrates below 20 ppm is ideal, many large cichlids thrive in higher than 80 ppm, right? And providing that the water is kept stable, right? You emphasize that consistency over chasing specific number is relatively the way to go as far as keeping fish. Yet going back to the moot point for how this conversation started, where you suggested that Raleigh from Fish Keeping Jamaica is, is not, practically put that bluntly, is not a good fish keeper because he's not following the principles of science in keeping his fish. Yet you bend the rules so as to suit your ego and suggest that there is some avenue to to go a different direction once it is not done too aggressively, right? The use of aquarium salt is not used by me. Aquarium salt is considered as one of those big box stores or manufacturers way of getting money from fish keepers. You can use Epsom salt or rock salt, or even just place some amount of limestone rock within the same aquarium and get the same effect, right? And it helps to ensure that the health of the fish is maintained at a particular level. One of the reasons why you would need to add so much salt in your aquarium is salt as a panacea is that the salt helps to de-stress the fish. Now, why would the salt be required for the aquarium? De-stress. So that means the fish would be stressed. So why would this fish be stressed? My thinking here is that your fish would be stressed because there are too much fish within the space. And as far as science dictates, going back to science, it suggests for every single fish, you should have at least a gallon of water. And so therefore, your argument regarding overstocking and all that is somewhat flawed. But yet, everyone in fish tubing land is afraid to call you out for this, this fallacy, this position that you have actually laid, right? Tolerance to pathogens and all of that within the aquarium. Now, I only have issues with my pond system whenever it's an oversight for me not to change my system, my water, right? So I practice regular water change, 1. 2, plants are in my pond. 3, I have soil, and the soil does a lot in my ponds because the soil helps to neutralize a lot of the issues that, like fish poop, a lot of poop in the water. The soil helps to neutralize the poop. And you can probably check that out in your science archive that you may have. Now, I shared about unkeepable fish and you regarding, overstocking and that. So, what you say regarding science and all that might not be a bad thing. It might be like regarded as a good thing, but there are still different tiers of keeping fish. And my tier of keeping fish, and tier meaning standard or level, is totally different from yours because my setup is totally different, right? You mentioned this is a podcast, so I have some persons on YouTube that I respect very, very much, and it's as a result of the respect that I have for them that I have not done a share like this in over 5 years because the energy, I was advised to use the energy to push for a domain within the fish tubing space that I can claim for myself. And I have done that in actually becoming successful, in becoming the most popular YouTuber in Jamaica that focuses on tilapia. So while it might not be like any fish that probably you might keep, but as far as my country folks are concerned, and persons from India is concerned, and Philippines is concerned, are concerned, English language, Serbian, I think it benefits those in whom I intend for it to benefit. Now, the pH lie, why your fish aren't fragile, like glass. Now, it is suggested that some fish that I keep, that is seen on my channel, has been kept together, are poorly kept because they require a total different setup, whether it be pH or temperature, and that the fish might look healthy, but the fish is not doing well. It's sick. Now, you will always hear on YouTube and amongst the fish keeping enthusiasts that you never mix South American tetra with African cichlids because the pH will kill them. That's practically a myth. That's not true, right? My thesis statement have proven to be correct in that that's not true. You see, in nature, rivers aren't labs, right? They are not distilled water. They have what you call thermal vents, right? You have rotten leaves, limestone rocks, similar to what I was mentioning earlier, that create a micro habitat. Now, I have been chastised on Reddit that practically I do not know how to keep fish, and that my methodology is practically killing off the fish stock that I have. Now, whenever my fish dies within my backyard, they die because of a mistake that I make. And one of the most common mistakes that I normally do make is water change with the water that is not fish safe. So I have 35 systems, and sometimes the water takes the 1,000 gallon that I have as a reservoir to change my fish stock water. It takes roughly about a week to change, and to change to fish safe water. And sometimes I'm impatient, and sometimes it's just necessary for me to change water, and as a result of that, my fish die. I can never recall any ornamental fish that I have had that have died consequentially as a result of the stocking ratio and the stocking of species together, right? I look at fish as a family, a fish tank as a family space. You can have different species living together once the space is big enough, right? You have referred to as static parameters, right? So you have a aquarium space, and the aquarium space may have pH parameters, let's say, near to the substrate of the aquarium. You may have pH that is at one level, and at the top you may have pH that is at another level, right? Fish stock in reality, right, is referred to as phenotypic plasticity, or in other words, Mr. Ben, reality is that they are incredibly adaptive. For those persons on Reddit too who have tried to debunk my strategy, you see, most tanks bred fish haven't seen native water in 50 generations. So what you find is that if you should take a aquarium bred fish and place in a river, chances are the fish may die. Although the river is running and the river is not what you refer to as polluted, and it might die, and not necessarily because of another fish consuming it, but because of the phenotypic plasticity, right? The science of the whole thing is that low pH or tannins, while low pH, right, can be within a corner where you have driftwood, right, while a bag with crushed corals, right, in the filter can create high pH. So you can have both low pH and high pH within the same aquarium. Once you have good filtration system, you should be good. You can have two species in the same tank, each gravitating towards the pocket that suits them best. Meaning you have two different fish from two different species, two different species, and they both require different temperature range and pH range, and they thrive well within a well-organized aquarium because of how you create that space for them, right? You refer to it as having what you call a variant vertical temperature gradient, right? You have to set your heater to exactly 25 degrees Celsius and keep it there. That's also a myth, right? In a 4-foot tank, the temperature at the surface near the light is not the same as the temperature 2 feet down behind the rock. It is important to understand that cool water species will stay in the flow and warm water species will bask near the heater or the surface. They were referred to as they self-segregate. So when individuals suggest that different fish, different aquarium, different setup, different instrument, all of this is just a facade to encourage you to spend more than what you really have or what you really need, right? And we should be careful and be mindful that not everyone has the resources like, those persons that are clamoring and suggesting that you're keeping stuff inappropriately. And, you're just gatekeepers of the fish tubing space. And as far as I see, nature have no gatekeepers. So just do your thing as how you see fit. Once the fish or the species within the space lives, you should have no issue, right? Now, it's important, guys. I've been here talking and I'm trying to be relaxed in, sharing in this conversation, not realizing that I have roughly about 10 minutes left before this podcast ends, right? And I probably might have to do a part 2. But the thing is, when I hit when individual, without the courtesy of having a relatively good conversation, paints a picture of my conversation as breaking the rules, being a criminal in fish keeping, right? By spewing taboos about the aquarium hobby and suggesting using the pH code or the filtration code in fish keeping to suggest that if this is not done, your fish will die, or whatever that person says, because they do not agree with me or because they do not have a setup like me, they are regarded as criminal, right? I guess they have some superpower, right? Now, fish aren't fragile glass sculpture. They are a biological machine designed to survive. The key word here is survive. This is the internal system the fish use to balance salt and minerals. Now, in scientific reality, while every species have a specific pH in the wild, most tank-bred fish have a tolerance window much wider than the books suggest. Now, I have done several videos on tilapia, right? And tilapia, to me, is one of those fish that have the highest tolerance range for pH as I can think. I've seen tilapia in very clean water and very dirty water. I mean, they can survive from a pH of 5.5 to about 8.5. That's the space in which they can, and trust me, their thing is, well, in fish keeping, the key is having stability in water. Reducing the whole episode of the pH dancing from one level to the next. That is the key point when keeping fish, right? Now, the organization of the aquarium is brutally important because the features, whatever you put in the aquarium, that can influence the pH, the temperature, and the whole lifespan of the animals that exist within the space, right? Now, there are a lot of fish out there that are referred to as predatory fish, and that's the reason why you wouldn't put certain fish with them, because they will practically eat their tank mates. That's probably one of the main reasons why I would stay away from tanking some species together, right? And the fact that some species, like for example, tetra and goldfish, they don't belong together, because goldfish, as you know, their temperature is really, they are more tolerant to low temperature than tetra, right? And if you have, let's say, a lot of tetras and you put them within an aquarium with a few goldfish, you will see a difference in behavior in comparative to two tetra and one goldfish within the same space. Those two tetra will terrorize or probably kill the goldfish. And it all has to do with the stocking ratio, right? In the sense that, some fish have to be in groups of X amount before they consider to be okay, right? I'm not suggesting any form or shape that overstocking is the key to decrease aggression in any aquarium. I think that is stupidity, right? I will probably come back to the whole idea of pH as a discussion for another share. But for today, guys, I'm going to end it there, and I'm going to see the responses for this share, and we'll talk. But as far as my conversation is concerned, Fish Keeping Jamaica is an authentic Jamaica, low-tech, low maintenance, low energy fish keeping channel / business, right? That does, I would refer to as more than average in the fish keeping hobby / business in Jamaica. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a productive day. Feel free to answer anytime. Bye-bye.